Well, good evening, fellow explorers and fellow Truth Social waiting in line, fellow patriots. Um,
Hello.
it is, hold on, let me turn up my speaker here a little bit. There you go. There we go. So, today, 2/21/22, President's Day. Jennifer and I are going to continue our series on the Book of Enoch, and we're getting to the good parts. we're really getting, I just was reading ahead a little bit and I'm like, yeah, this is what I remember previously, and this is what a lot of people on other shows focus on. So we're gonna be hitting some good stuff here. So I think the ride's gonna be a little bit more interesting, a little bit more fun going forward here. So where do we leave off? Was it 18?
18. Yes.
Okay, let's see here. Make sure I got my cheater notes here. That looks like it. All right. So, welcome for those of you that are here. Wow, Mike's monitors. Hey, Mike Stefani, Mr. Stefani, how are you? Well, hold,
Mike.
hold the phone. Hold the phone. How did you know? Did you get a notification the show was going to be on? Because I haven't talked to you like in a million years, dude. Come on, Mike. I know you can put it in the chat. I know your chubby little fingers can't type fast, but for the Mike's a personal friend. I have not ever seen him on one of the shows. So
Oh,
yes,
nice.
much love to you, bro. Lives in Wisconsin. One of the on the.
Oh, nice.
Oh, you're a subscriber. All right. Well, there you go. You have to follow me on Truth Social. So anyway, Mike's a great friend. He's from Wisconsin. He's like
Nice.
an hour or so north of Chicago, hour and a half, whatever it is. And
Oh, okay. Yeah.
for those
Cold.
of you that
I bet.
for those of you who know that my past, I used to be a monitor lizard breeder, and Mike is the premier monitor lizard breeder at the moment in the world. The guy has like the golden touch. Man, the guy is just constantly producing offspring with all his different species and everything. So
Oh, wow.
we might have to have him on the show one day, and we'll talk about giant lizards and stuff like that. So,
Oh, cool.
but welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. And we left off at chapter 18. So if you're not familiar with the format, I'll read a chapter. We'll talk about it. Jennifer will read a chapter. We'll talk about it. If anything weird or exciting comes up, we'll talk about it longer. Or if you guys have anything you want to talk about, what we just read, fire it away in the chat. So, um, all right, chapter 18. Here we go. You can hear me okay, right?
Mhm.
I'm not muffled. Okay. All right, chapter 18. I then surveyed the receptacles of all the winds. And this is what I said. This is why I'm saying we're getting to the exciting stuff, because in the beginning, I think I mentioned that one of the things that interested me about the Book of Enoch was the way it described, or the way Enoch described the earth and the heavens, almost as if, we're not going to talk about flat earth stuff today, but it kind of reminded me of that because they talk about the firm, or he talks about the firmament, and he talks about like where the winds come from and where, all this. So it almost sounds like it's created as like the whole, the fishbowl concept kind of thing, whatever. So anyway, I get excited about this kind of stuff. So I then surveyed the receptacles of all the winds, perceiving that they contributed to adorn the whole creation and to preserve the foundation of the earth. I surveyed the stone which supports the corners of the earth. I also beheld the four winds which bear up the earth and the firmament of heaven. And I beheld the winds occupying the exalted sky, arising in the midst of heaven and earth, or heaven and of earth, and constituting the pillars of heaven. I saw the winds which turn the sky, which cause the orb of the sun and all of the stars to set. And over the earth I saw the winds which support the clouds. I saw the path of angels. I love that line. We'll get back to that. I perceived at the extremity of the earth the firmament of heaven above it. So again, describing heaven above the firmament. Then I passed on towards the south, where the burnt, both by day and night, 6 mountains formed of glorious stones, 3 towards the east and 3 towards the south. Those which were towards the east were of a variegated stone, one of which was of margarite, whatever that is, and another of antimony. Those towards the south were of a red stone. The middle one reached to heaven like the throne of God, a throne composed of alabaster, the top of which was sapphire. I saw too a blazing fire hanging over all the mountains. And there I saw a place on the other side of an extended territory where waters were collected. I likewise beheld terrestrial fiery columns in heaven. You know what? I'm going to put this on the screen for those if you want to, people want to read, I guess. If you don't have a copy of it or whatever. Let's see here. I likewise beheld terrestrial fountains deep in the fiery columns of heaven. And in the columns of heaven I beheld fires which descended without number, but neither on high nor into the deep over these fountains. Also I perceived a place which had neither the firmament of heaven above it, nor the solid ground underneath it. Neither was there water above, neither was there water above it, nor anything on wing, but the spot was desolate. And there I beheld 7 stars like great blazing mountains. That's kind of ominous. To see stars at large, and like spirits entreating me. Then the angel said, this place until the consummation of heaven and earth will be the prison of the stars and the host of heaven. The stars which roll over fire are those which transgressed the commandment of God before their time arrived. For they came not in their proper season, therefore he was offended with them and bound them until the period of the consummation of their crimes in the secret year. Man, that was
That is really exciting.
yeah, this out of all the books, well, the canon books of the Bible and this, which is canon in the Ethiopian Bible, this book, I love the way it reads. I love the way it describes things. It's almost it's different than the other books. It's not as like flowery language. It's almost like just like describing like a fantasy novel. It's very very descriptive. I mean, like that chapter had a lot to digest. So let's see here. Let's see what the author says. It is impossible that the Gospels can be more or less than they are, for as there are 4 zones in the world which we inhabit, and 4 principal winds, while the church is spread abroad throughout the earth, and the pillar and basis of the church is the gospel and the spirit of life. It is right that she should have 4 pillars, exhaling immortality on every side, and bestowing renewed vitality on men, from which fact it follows that the word has given us 4 versions of the gospel, united by one spirit. So Irenaeus did not say where he got this information. He evidently got it from Enoch, even though the Book of Enoch was a banned book during the Middle Ages. It's symbological. Geez, I can't even talk today. It's symbological cosmology. I don't know if he means cosmology or cosmology, so I don't know what cosmology means. Sorry, guys. Was accepted as fact. So I don't know, but the thing that strikes me is this: I saw the path of angels. For whatever reason. It's like, what does he mean by I saw the path of the angels? Like,
Wow.
is there a specific route that they come from heaven to earth, including the fallen angels, the watchers?
That's a good question.
Is it like what we
Yeah.
we talk about the underground or the hollow earth and the underground train system in Antarctica and that kind of stuff? And so I don't know. Out of all those lines, I saw the path of the angels was the one that stuck out the most, and then describing the stone. Let's see here, 6 mountains that were formed of glorious stones, and we know that mountains, as we know them, are rock or whatever, but not the way these are described. These are described, in different colors and alabaster. I mean, it's just
Wow.
so I don't know if this is something. Do we know? Did they have access to peyote back then? So that
Wow.
could be one possibility. But anyway, it's just an interesting chapter. They all are, but this is, I think, where like the pace picks up,
Mhm,
and
mhm. I
I don't
like
know.
that too. Like you like the path of the angels. That I like things like that because it makes you think and you visualize what it means.
Yeah, Mike said we are living in a giant monitor habitat. You
Ah,
know,
nice.
well, I hope God builds them like you do, buddy, because then that explains why we're doing okay. So, but again, we're not going to get the whole flat earth slash dome fishbowl kind of thing today. That could be a whole different show, and we'll invite Jetson White on that show if he'll come. Because if anybody knows who Jetson White is, he's got the goods when it comes to the flat earth stuff. So,
Wow, nice.
all right, Miss Jennifer, chapter 19.
Okay. All right, chapter 19. Then Uriel said, "Here the angels who cohabitated with women appointed their leaders, and being numerous in appearance, made men profane and caused them to err, so that they sacrificed to devils as to gods. For in the great day there shall be a judgment with which they shall be judged until they are consumed, and their wives also shall be judged, who led astray the angels of heaven that they might salute them, being numerous in appearance or assuming many forms. And I, Enoch, I alone saw the likeness of the end of all things, nor did any human being see it as I saw it." Oh boy, that is powerful. So, Uriel, I know we went over Uriel's identity, right?
Yeah.
Uriel is one of the archangels, is it, Uriel?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Uriel pronounced this. Wow. Assuming many forms. So Uriel said, numerous in appearance. So we know they can take on many forms, as they're saying, numerous in appearance. And that's the thing that it's taking me a while to wrap my head around. If it says many forms, would that also include animal forms as well as human forms?
That's a good question. According to God, he defiled them. They defiled themselves and the women. So I would imagine that something or as powerful as an angel, even a fallen angel, could defile themselves as maybe being an animal, taking the form of an animal, whatever the case is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
That's
I would think so.
yeah. Many forms would give me that. Now, their wives, that's another thing that's very curious because I I assume in my own limited understanding that their wives are from the line of Cain.
Cain, yes.
I don't
That's how I understand it too.
That's how you understand it too. I don't
Yeah.
think they would have had wives from the line of like Noah's line, Enoch's line. So, being that the line of Cain is already messed up, and probably has piles of judgment coming to that line. I'm not saying that they can't be redeemed, some of them. I would hope that there would be a possibility for some people, maybe. I don't know. It's just something I'm thinking. Maybe it's possible. God can save anyone if somebody has that bloodline and they came to know the Lord. Is that even possible, like that someone from that bloodline could be redeemed? I'd love to kind of like think about that, but this is pretty powerful in that Enoch has seen the end of everything. He's been privy to more than even John the Revelator, it seems.
Yes.
It seems. I'd have to kind of look at. I haven't read the book of Revelation in a while, but for him to say that nor did any human being see it, that lets me know that he said, I alone saw the likeness of the end of all things. So Enoch is very important. I mean, we haven't given him his props, as they say.
Well, God loved Enoch. God, he was one of two known in the Bible to be taken straight to heaven
Yeah,
without death.
right.
And so the fact that he's, like you said, stating that I alone saw the likeness of the end of all things is a pretty powerful statement. I alone. So God saw it fit to let Enoch see the future. Like this is the end of all things.
Mm.
And this is like the second or third time they mention like their leaders, like the fallen angels leaders. Like it says here, the angels who cohabitated with women appointed their leaders, and
Mm.
being numerous in appearance. So, and we do have in the Bible, we have descriptions of all the, how there's a hierarchy of angels, and some of them look different than others. You've got the cherubim all the way up to the archangels, and some of them have when they were seen at the throne of the Father, you know, faces on the front and the back or all sides, that kind of thing. And so it's interesting because, I mean, theoretically, when he banished them, when they became fallen angels, I think we read that they basically lost their power, like their ability to be heavenly, I guess, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, so I would imagine, because the offspring were the Nephilim, the giants, and if I remember, again, trying to remember, the giants, like the offspring, weren't condemned, but
Oh,
the mothers and the fallen angels are,
wow.
um, because I guess those spirits are innocent. It's not their fault that they were born, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, that's a pretty loaded short chapter.
Yeah, right. It really is loaded. And then the wives being identified and isolated as having a certain judgment for what they have done as well. So they led
Mhm.
angels astray, which gives them a lot of influence that they might salute them. I That right there is really power packed.
Mhm.
Salute them kind of seems like um giving them honor, like,
Maybe it's because they were humbled, like because they weren't their former selves, and these women
oh,
decided to, you know, embrace them. I guess I don't know.
well, maybe,
It
wow.
is interesting. I mean, I don't know. That's one of those pieces of gristle you got to chew on for a little while,
Mhm.
like at a bad Chinese restaurant or something. I don't know if any of you have ever had beef. I'll use beef in quotes at a not a really good Chinese restaurant, but kind of a You sit there and you just keep chewing on it for like a half an hour, and it's like, anyway. I digress. Chapter 20. These are the names of the angels who watch. Uriel, one of the holy angels who presides over clamor and terror. That's interesting. Who presides over clamor and terror. So he must work at the White House. Um, Raphael, one of the holy angels who presides over the spirits of men. I don't know if that's Raguel, or whatever. Raguel. I don't know. If I say his name 3 times, I don't want him to show up. One of the holy angels who inflicts punishment on the world and the luminaries. I wonder what they mean by luminaries, because normally we think of like stars or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, one of the holy angels who inflicts punishment on the world and luminaries. Let's come back to that. Michael, one of the holy angels, my personal favorite, who, presiding over human virtue, commands the nations. Sarakiel, or Sarak, however you pronounce it, Sarakiel, one of the holy angels who presides over the spirits of the children of men that transgress. That's interesting. Gabriel, one of the holy angels who presides over Ikaset, over paradise, and over the cherubim. Oh, so Gabriel's over the little chubbies right there.
Right.
Little cherubim. So Ikaset, the serpents. So okay, so it presides over the serpents, over paradise, and over the cherubim. Well, and that's interesting because we know that paradise is guarded now after man was kicked out of the paradise, is guarded by cherubim. And we know that the serpent has been known to frequent there. So interesting. Mm-hmm. So the with the angels, let's see, Sarakiel, he's the one that presides over the spirits of children of men that transgress. It's interesting because I'd have to look at my my concordance, my accordance Bible stuff on my computer. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I've ever heard that name. This Sarakiel. So I'll have to look that up. Let me I don't do it right now, but I'll look it up for next show. But it's interesting. So I'm wondering, with all the problems that are happening in the world and that kind of stuff right now. And of course, on this show, we're not going to talk about that. We talk about this on another show where we're not going to get banned or, whatever. And our CIA handlers enjoy the show as well. So that's on Fridays. If you guys ever watch the Red Pill Roundtable, there's usually a few of us, and we take the gloves off and we lay the smack down on the deep state. So, but that's not this show. This is a fun show. We like exploring fun things.
Yes.
So, what do you think, Jennifer, about chapter 20?
I love it because I'm like you. I haven't heard of some of these angels, and I would like to know more about them. Like, I'd like to have their names roll off my tongue, like I would know of a celebrity, because they are celebrities, right? They are the real luminaries. And I just love it that, I haven't heard of Sarakiel or
I'm looking it up right now.
Raguel.
Nope, not in the Bible.
It's very fascinating.
So we got our first bot.
Oh boy, yikes!
All right, we'll have to do some bot squishing. So put user in timeout or block user. We'll block user. There we go.
That was so bright, all the colors in there.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It took some time, so that must have been a script.
Yeah, they make themselves easy to spot.
All right, so chapter 21.
Okay. Chapter 21. Then I made a circuit to a place in which nothing was completed. And there I beheld neither the tremendous workmanship of an exalted heaven nor of an established earth. but a desolate spot prepared and terrific. There too I beheld 7 stars of heaven bound in it together, like great mountains, and like a blazing fire. I exclaimed, for what species of crime have they been bound? And why have they been removed to this place? Then Uriel, one of the holy angels who was with me and who conducted me, answered, Enoch, wherefore do you ask? Wherefore do you reason with yourself and anxiously inquire? These are those of the stars which have transgressed the commandment of the Most High God and are here bound until the infinite number of the days of their crimes be completed. From there, I afterwards passed on to another terrific place, where I beheld the operation of a great fire blazing and glittering in the midst of where there was a division. Columns of fire struggled together to the end of the abyss, and deep was their descent. But neither its measurement nor magnitude was I able to discover, neither could I perceive its origin. Then I exclaimed, how terrible is this place, and how difficult to explore. Uriel, one of the holy angels who was with me, answered and said, Enoch, why are you alarmed and amazed at this terrific place, at the sight of this place of suffering? This, he said, is the prison of the angels, and here they are kept forever. Oh boy. Oh, you're right about that, John. This is really, it went like it hit a different like speed.
Yeah, if you ever watched like the Men in Black, if you remember Men in Black,
Yeah.
do you? It was the second one. The woman that worked at the morgue. You remember
Trying to recall.
creepy dead lady, as Will Smith called her.
I think I do. Yeah, yeah,
She
yeah.
liked her job. She liked working at the morgue and everything. But it's funny because the way he said is he was trying to she was trying to pantomime something the way she was talking because one of the aliens was actually no, it was the first movie, sorry, under the table, and she
Mhm.
was trying to get him to pay attention to it, and he said something like, "Hey, you don't got to hit the gas like that," kind of thing, thinking it was like a sexual reference or whatever. That's what this like each chapter is like, man, you're just like you're hitting the gas. You're just
Yeah.
like
Like,
that first line or the first little verse. Then
mhm.
I made it started to a place in which nothing was completed, and there I beheld neither the tremendous workmanship of an exalted heaven nor of an established earth, but a desolate spot prepared and terrific. So when you read like the author's comment, the above must be the first mention of hell. And then he says the next is the first description of paradise. If you read that first verse by itself and not the rest of it, you would never associate it with hell because it almost makes it sound like it's a sandbox, like it's a place where God's creations are starting, kind of thing. Like they're not completed, but these are like an
Uh-huh.
artist with his canvases. Like
Right, right.
they're started, but they're not completed.
Wow.
But then when you read the rest of it, it puts it in perspective.
Mhm.
Um, let's see here.
It does.
And now reading this, because before he mentioned stars a few times, and now we know the stars of the fallen angels, because it says,
Right,
these
right.
are those of the stars which have transgressed the commandment of the Most High God, and here are here bound until the infinite number of days of their crimes be completed. So that kind of puts it in more perspective. Like, yeah, this is where the fallen angels were sent,
Mhm.
and whether we want to call that hell or not, maybe hell's another place. Maybe this is maybe the fallen angels are in a totally separate place from hell. But because in the next verse here, from thence I afterwards pass on to another terrific place, almost making it sound like it's not the same place as the
Right.
first couple verses. That's
Wow.
why I was thinking that this first place might be totally separate from the next place. And
Mm-hmm.
the next place is hell, the description of hell.
That
So,
is, yeah, interesting. Wow. And you know, I think of how I've heard all my life in church that hell wasn't created for mankind. And that really stands out to me from reading this. A lot of people always rail against the concept of hell. They don't want to acknowledge it being real because
mhm,
they always throw up, well, why would a loving God want to throw people in hell? And that's exactly the point. A loving God doesn't want people going there because
right,
it wasn't even created for mankind. It was created to house these lawless ones, these angels. So this was like their offense against God was something that is way off the charts, that he had
yeah,
to create a place, a prison for them to punish them forever. They are never getting out. And they have no hope of redemption once they cross God.
right,
So that is like, that's a sobering thing because all you hear, like from reading this, is that the fires are just beyond anything we could understand. This is like
mhm,
a burning, blazing, unbelievably hot abyss, and it's no place for a human to want to spend any time at all.
yeah, and just like the description, um, how terrible is this place and how difficult to explore, which, makes it sound like if you ever saw like Lord of the Rings, like the last movie, like when they're going through Mordor, all the rocky spires and all the flames and all the gases and all the, that's kind of
Mhm.
how it seems to me, is like if something's difficult to explore, then it must not be that easy to explore, meaning like you can't, there's too much there, like there's too much going on and too
Right.
dangerous to explore, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
fire and
And
brimstone.
don't you also get like Mike and John, don't you also get that angels again, like I think we talked about this last week, John, where we were talking about them having emotional range, which I
Hmm.
I didn't really think about as much, but the Book of Enoch is giving me more insight into that. So I now am thinking about this place where these angels are going, are some of them are, they are there. Um, and I'm thinking they have the ability to feel pain
Hmm.
somehow within their, whatever their body is made up of, fire in all of this horrible, like just this place, it has to affect them or it wouldn't be fire and these things wouldn't be used, right? Wouldn't you think? Like, what
Yeah,
would,
I know they fear, and I know they have, and they're anxious and they're worried because they as we learned before, they're trying to get Enoch to go to bat for them. Like say, hey, can you send a message to God? Can you tell him that, we've been good boys and girls now, and we want to be in God's favor again. And at the beginning, the leader was worried that the other, because maybe the other angels weren't on board with what he was willing to do or wanting to do with taking human wives. He was generally concerned that he was going to fry for it if these guys didn't back him up.
hmm hmm
So yeah, I mean that tells me that they have emotions and that kind of thing.
hmm yeah. If they could lust after these women so they feel those type of emotions, that's interesting to me. And like you're saying, they're anxious, they're regretting what they've done, which is a horrible, like that's a regret nobody would want to relate to. This kind of like no redemption regret. Like
Mhm.
this is amazing to me. Like I've never looked at their plight like this in a way where I could understand it from my human understanding, is that these guys are terrified. Like you said, they're done and they know it.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that, well, it sucks for them because they were the trailblazers of all this stuff. They were the first ones to to really be transgressed that badly, and, and they probably, never seen God's wrath before or like, maybe who knows what was going on with all the angels and the heavenly hosts, and how they see the earth, and is it like the movies? They're sitting up there looking down on us, and they're like, oh wow, those women are kind of cute, and it's like, or are they here? Like, do they travel here and they kind of become incognito, and they just kind of observe,
Mm,
and they just decided, hey, we like this place and we like the women, and we like it enough that we're willing to incur the wrath of heaven. And it's, who knows? I don't know, but they obviously have some kind of emotions, I think.
mm-hmm. That's what I'm thinking too. Now, let me ask you this. With the ones that are down in this place where Enoch is being shown this terrible, terrific place, would that then mean that there's a portion of them that are there, not all of them? Is that
That's a
what
good
you're
question.
like?
Um,
Others are going to be added in later? Like, I'm just wondering. Like,
yeah, because I still go back to that line that says, "There, these are those of the stars which have transgressed the commandment of the Most High God, and are here bound until the infinite number of days of their crimes be completed." So I'm guessing that that could potentially be more than this group later at in a later point in like this, because you really don't know how big this place is,
hmm,
and
hmm,
they don't really give a perspective of the size. um yeah, because it says, but neither its measurement nor magnitude was I able to discover, neither could I perceive its origin.
hmm.
um you know that's a good question. I don't know, I'd
All
have to
right.
think about that one.
Yeah, I'm thinking only because, like, think about this. All right, the angels, the one third that fell because of Satan or Lucifer, where he took one third with him to rebel against God, and it
Hmm.
seems like the Watchers were of a different group.
Yeah, like they were separate from that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see potentially, and I again, to me, the way it reads, and again, I could be totally wrong, like these are two separate places,
Okay.
like that. Those like that. The first two verses, or first three verses, I should say, seem to describe someplace completely different than verse 4, 5, and 6. Because verse 4 starts with, "From thence I afterwards passed on to another terrific place," and that's the one that describes the fire and everything else.
Hmm.
But the one before that doesn't. He actually describes it as terrific, whatever that would have been interpreted as,
Hmm.
whatever terrific meant, because it just sounds plain, it just sounds empty. And because the way he describes it is, neither the tremendous workmanship of an exalted heaven nor of an established earth, but a desolate spot prepared and terrific.
Hmm.
So just kind of void of stuff, just kind of
Right.
blase. But
Mhm.
then, like I said, when you get down to verse 4, then you're talking about a totally different place, which has all this whatever in there, and then he describes it as being difficult to explore.
Mhm.
Um, so who knows? I mean, who knows what God's plan is as far as, are these the only places that people that transgress or beings that transgress go to? Is this empty place or hell, basically? Um, so who knows? I don't
Mm.
know. That's one of those things I'll probably think about at 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
But a good question. That's something definitely to think about. 22. Let's see. Kind of weird reading at this angle because my glasses suck.
Oh.
From thence I proceeded to another spot. So, okay, now we're traveling somewhere else, where I saw on the west a great and lofty mountain, a strong rock, and 4 delightful places. Internally, it was deep, capacious, and very smooth as if it had been rolled over. It was both deep and dark to behold. Then Raphael, one of the holy angels who were with me, answered and said, "These are the delightful places where the spirits, the souls of the dead, will be collected. For them were they formed, and here will be collected all the souls of the sons of men. These places in which they dwell shall they occupy until the day of judgment, and until their appointed period." Let's see. Their appointed period will be long, even until the great judgment. And I saw the spirits of sons of men who were dead, and their voices reached to heaven while they were accusing. And then the author pipes in here and says, some religious groups teach that humans do not have immortal souls that live on after death of the body, even though there's is ample evidence for this in the New Testament. But no one can dispute the numerous clear statements about it here in Enoch. Then it goes on. Then I inquired of Raphael, an angel who was with me. I like how he just puts that every time he says his name, an angel who was with me,
Mhm.
and said, whose spirit is that? Or excuse me, whose spirit is that, the voice of which reaches to heaven and accuses? He answered, saying, this is the spirit of Abel, who was slain by Cain, his brother, and who will accuse that brother until his seed be destroyed from the face of the earth, until his seed from the seed of the human race. We're going to go back to that when we're done here. I have just had a thought, and I know that's rare. So at that time, therefore, I inquired respecting him and respecting the general judgment, saying, why is one separated from another? He answered, 3 separations have been made between the spirits of the dead, and thus have the spirits of the righteous been separated, namely by a chasm, by water, and by light above it. And in the same way, likewise, are sinners separated when they die, and are buried in the earth, judgment not overtaking them in their lifetime. Here their souls are separated. Moreover, abundant is their suffering until the time of the great judgment, the castigation, and the torment of those who eternally execrate, whose souls are punished and bound there forever. Wow.
Oh boy.
And thus has it been from the beginning of the world. Thus has there existed a separation between the souls of those who utter complaints and of those who watch for their destruction, to slaughter them in the day of sinners. A receptacle of this sort has been formed for the souls of unrighteous men and of sinners, of those who have completed crime and associated with the impious or impious, however you pronounce that, whom they resemble. Their soul shall not be annihilated in the day of judgment, neither shall they arise from this place. Then I blessed God and said, "Blessed be my Lord, the Lord of glory and righteousness, who reigns over all forever and forever." So the author jumps in here. Since there is very little in the Old Testament about hell, it is probable that the New Testament concept of hell was derived from Enoch, especially these passages. Jesus mentions the abode of the dead and a chasm between them. One abode he called Abraham's bosom from Luke 16:22. This leads great credibility to the Book of Enoch. I agree with that statement.
Yes.
Let's see here. Go back. I love this. Then I inquired of Raphael, an angel who was with me, and said, "Whose spirit is that, the voice of which reaches to heaven and accuses?" He answered, saying, "This is the spirit of Abel, who was slain by Cain, his brother.
Wow.
And who will accuse that brother until his seed be destroyed from the face of the earth?" Let's see, until his. This is what I want to talk about right here. Because if any of you have been following any of the, truther movement, as we call it, I hate that. I wish they would call it something else. It just sounds weird.
Yeah.
I know we've talked about it in some of our past shows. And you've got people like that have come up, like -48 and all these others that have come out, and some of these people are pushing the whole bloodline theory, like the whole, Cain and Abel bloodline theory, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons why things are so crazy now and why the cabal has been so bent for centuries on dominating people, and this whole idea of having a subservient kind of people, is that they're trying to get rid of that seed, that bloodline, of Cain. Like they don't want like Cain's bloodline to continue, kind of thing. Like they're trying to, with all these, satanic rituals and all this other stuff. And I just think that's an interesting concept with what's happening now with other, again, that's a whole different show. But
Mm-hmm.
The line, let's see here. Because at the beginning it says, "From thence I proceeded to another spot where I saw on the west a great and lofty mountain, a strong rock, and 4 delightful places." I like this 4. So the number, like 4 delightful places.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. All right. So these are the delightful places where the spirits, the souls of the dead, will be collected. And then let's see, that they would basically be separated. So you basically got 4 buckets for these souls. It's like, I wonder, what did he say? I don't remember here. 3 separations have been made between the spirits of the dead, and thus have the spirits of the righteous been separated. So we know that one of those 4 places is for the righteous, and the others for the sinners. So I wonder what the other 2 are for. Let's see. I don't know. What did you get out of this? Besides it, again, being another power-packed, like, just crammed full of stuff.
Very much so. It is so power packed. I am just trying to wrap my head around it. I like, again, like you said, I just like how descriptive it is. It's so straightforward and it reads like a novel more so than, I don't know, what I've been used to. It's so easy to understand. It's amazing at the same time. It's not that it's easy to understand, it's easy to read through. The understanding is going to have to come like at probably different times because it's so much here. I'm just not used to hearing Raphael's name like this. Just so awesome because I really want to hear. I want to know more about these angels and and speak about them more, and really
Yeah.
focus on them a lot more, um, in this way, because they're so important. They do so many things, and for Enoch to ask about things, and he's just, Raphael just answers him. Not that in other passages angels don't answer, but this is just a different angels now that we're hearing
Mhm.
from. And now for Cain to be mentioned again, because that's another thing that I might have wondered about. Like, it just seems like you hear about people, then they just go away. You don't hear much more about them. Like, this is a
Yeah.
nice way to now see Cain on the other side of this life here, and how important he would be as being the first victim of murder in
Right.
terms of and that's pretty big. He's the first person to have been slain. And even though it says, I guess I could think back, it says Jesus was slain before the foundations of the earth. So that's also like, I'm not saying like, Cain would supersede Christ, but as far as
Mhm.
like pure, I don't know, like, not God,
Right.
Jesus being all God, all man, Cain being a man, a mortal. He has an important role here because he's going to bring accusation against that brother, the murderer, the first murderer, and his seed.
Mhm.
So Abel, that's what I meant. Did I say Cain? I mean Abel. Abel, his accusation is very important. So his words are going to be the words that take Cain's whole lineage off of the face of the earth. Like, that's powerful.
And remember, Cain, well, was a giant, and we were talking about the children of of these fallen angels, the Nephilim, and Cain being a giant. I think that's kind of goes back to what I said earlier about because we know that the giants, at least in writing, were considered bad mamma jammas. They were, for lack of a better word, they were assholes. Like they were mean. They would eat people. Um, but we also understand that, I think, again, I'll have to go back and look, that they themselves, because they were the offspring, weren't condemned. And I think maybe that's kind of, like Cain feels like maybe he's got the short end of the stick because, why was he taken out, kind of thing. And I don't know. It's an interesting concept that would have to be further explored, because I can only imagine like what it would have been like early on, after like the books of the Bible were translated, and the general population, like the Catholic Church or whatever, got their hands on these and started reading through them like we're reading through these, like how they started their first interpretations of things, and their first, where it led conversation, or where it led their thought process, kind of thing. So I don't know. I think there's something to that whole Cain and Abel thing, and I just don't know what it is.
Hmm. It's a lot more than we had really had any information really to think. It's a big deal. Such a big deal. What happened between those two brothers? It set the tone, right? It did, like in terms of the separation.
Yeah, and plus you think about, like when you said murder, a lot of people, like you think about modern times, they talk about pretty heavily now. It's like instead of getting violent or getting angry, like they want you to pray for the other person. Like they want you to, they hear that a lot. Well, why don't you pray for whoever it is?
Mhm.
Like this is a case where it's like, yeah, well, if I guarantee that if God wants you to slay giants, you're going to slay giants. You're not going to pray for them. That's kind of what Abel did. He didn't pray for Cain. He wasn't told to pray for Cain.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't know.
Mm.
Until his seed perish from the seed of the human race.
Wow.
So yeah, and that's kind of like I said, what leads me to like stuff that's happening over the last few centuries about, like probably since the beginning of this all started, this whole the whole idea of the two bloodlines. And even though technically they're the same from the same parents, I mean same so technically it's one bloodline if you
Mhm.
really want to be, but who knows? That's a whole different show. And there's plenty of people that believe me that dwell on that very fact, and I'm sure there's plenty of videos on it. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean heavy stuff. I mean, I almost feel
Yes.
like instead of listening to, I almost feel like I'm reading like Pink Floyd The Wall or something. Like you're trying to figure out the lyrics. Like what the heck are they talking about?
Right. Right.
Some of it seems pretty straightforward, but some of it's kind of, I don't know if it's purposely ambiguous or that's just how they wrote and that's how they were
Mm.
in that time.
Mhm.
Um, so I mean, it's geez, like I said, this is where it starts to get really good. Not that the early stuff wasn't. It was just kind of laying the foundation.
Mhm. Yes.
Hey Casey, how you doing? Let's see. Have to start from the yes, Casey, you're gonna have to start from the beginning, but
I see.
it'll be there.
Mhm.
You'll see it. All right, so chapter 23.
All right. From there, I went to another place towards the west until the ends of the earth, where I beheld a fire blazing and running along without cessation, which intermitted its course neither by day nor by night, but continued always the same. I inquired, saying, "What is this which never ceases?" Then Raguel, different angel, one of the holy angels who was with me, answered and said, "This blazing fire which you behold running towards the west is that of all the luminaries of heaven." Oh boy. Wow. It just gets better and better here. Whoa.
Yeah, then look what the author says there.
Okay, so the author is saying that the blazing fire was made up of the same stuff as our sun, or is symbolically represented, or it symbolically represented the sun and the other suns in the universe. The next passage describes a tree that will be on earth during the millennial rule of Christ. Oh,
Hmm. It's
wow.
interesting because the
Where does it
blazing
mention the
fire.
tree? Do you see where it mentions the
No,
tree?
that he's just saying like in chapter 24, the next chapter, I think
Oh,
is
oh,
talking
okay. I jumped. Okay, sorry. Oh,
the
okay.
blazing fire which you behold running towards the west is that of all the luminaries of heaven.
Wow.
So is that of I mean, does that mean it's because it's as bright as all the stars combined, or is it literally the composition? Does it, you know, so let's see, I saw something here.
That's interesting.
It
West.
does sound like it's, describing the sun, but um
And then the path of the sun that we know of is that it its movement is from the east to the west,
Right.
night to day, day to night.
Yep. And that's kind of what they describe here.
Rises in the sun rises in the east, sets in the west.
Yeah, because it says, which you behold running towards the west. So yeah, I would imagine that he's looking at the sun.
Wow.
Or a giant meteor. Let's see, chapter 24. Jeez, this is a long one. Let's see. Okay. I went from thence to another place and saw a mountain of fire flashing both by day and night. That's interesting. I saw a mountain of fire flashing both by day and night. I proceeded towards it and perceived 7 splendid mountains. Here's the mountains again, which were all different from each other. Their stones were brilliant and beautiful. Now, that's the second time within like a couple chapters that different mountains are mentioned in different colors. So I'm trying to figure out if they were literal mountains or something else. Like mountain was the only thing he could think of to describe it. Says their stones were brilliant and beautiful. All were brilliant and splendid to behold, and beautiful was their surface. So which kind of tells me it's like polished, or something like not rugged or not rocky kind of thing.
Wow.
3 mountains were towards the east and strengthened by being placed one upon the other, or one upon another, and 3 were towards the south, strengthened in a similar manner. There were likewise deep valleys which did not approach each other, and the 7th mountain was in the midst of them. In length, they all resembled the seat of a throne, and odoriferous trees. I love that, odoriferous. Sound like something Homer Simpson would say. Odoriferous trees surrounded them. So some kind of fragrant trees, whether it may be pines or whatever, some trees we don't know about. Among these, there was a tree of an unceasing smell, nor of those which were in Eden. So here we have paradise mentioned before. Now we have the word Eden. Was there one of all the fragrant trees which smelt like this? So that's interesting. Its leaf, its flower, and its bark never withered, and its fruit was beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah, here's that stupid bot again. Jeez, hold on a sec.
Oh gosh.
There you go. All right. Russian bot's gone. Damn you, Putin. As if you're in the Biden White House, trying to start World War III, and Ukraine and Russia doesn't want to have anything to do with it.
Right. They're like, we didn't know we were at war.
Yeah. Its fruit resembled the cluster of a palm. So I'm wondering, let's see, fruit resembled a cluster of a palm. So it's like bananas or coconuts or I don't know. I exclaimed, behold, this tree is goodly in aspect, pleasing in its leaf. Sounds like Cheech Marin there, pleasing in its leaf, and the sight of its fruit is delightful to the eye. Then Michael, my favorite, one of the holy and glorious angels who were with me. He has to put that in there. Who were with me? Just say all of them were with you. I mean, they were all with you. Jeez. And one who presided over them. Ooh, that's interesting. Let's see. Michael, we know he's like top dog. One of the holy and glorious angels who were with me, and one who presided over them. That's interesting. One who presided over them answered and said, Enoch, why do you inquire respecting the odor of this tree? Why are you inquisitive to know it? I guess I can imagine like Michael or any of these angels are probably like, this is like a kid on a long trip, like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Or, why is the sky blue? Why is the sky blue? Why is it raining? So just by the way it says, Enoch, why do you inquire respecting the odor of this tree? Why are you inquisitive to know it? It's like, just shut up and go along with the ride.
I would be like Enoch asking all these questions.
Yeah. Then Enoch, replied to him and said, concerning everything, I am desirous of instruction, but particularly concerning this tree. There must have been some wild tree, man. Like just the way he said that. I am desirous of instruction, but particularly concerning this tree. It's like, man, I love this tree. because we know about the tree of life and the tree of knowledge kind of thing. They were kind of described as being those kind of things. And we know that I don't remember which one is which, but the serpent obviously told Eve that by eating its fruit, you would basically be the same as God. You would know everything that God knew. So I wonder if that's just a human thing to be fascinated with this particular tree. So yeah, I wonder, like it's like some kind of, we'll have to come back to that. He answered me saying, that mountain which you see, and plus speaking of mountains, when he described it earlier, that they were one on top of each other. So, I don't know if that's because of the perspective and like one was behind the other in distance. So it looked like they were on top of each other, or that's just literally how they were. Because we know they don't sound like regular mountains because they seem like they have a polished surface and, they were multicolored. So I mean, it's interesting. And keep in mind, this is Enoch. He's being led around by these angels, and he's God's showing him like what we know, I guess, the heavenly realm. He's showing them hell, showing them earth, and showing things from a perspective, from not an earthly like ground level perspective, but from like a 50,000 foot view, whatever you want to call that kind of view. Let's see. He answered me saying, that mountain which you see, the extent of whose head resembles the seat of the Lord. And that's what I was getting at here, because they made it sound like the throne or a throne earlier.
Right.
Will be the seat on which shall sit the holy and great Lord of glory, the everlasting King, when he shall come and descend to visit the earth with goodness. So that line, when he shall come and descend to visit the earth with goodness.
Wow.
So we're talking about what seems like a throne. We're like, is this a throne that was made for him, like for himself and he's referring to Jesus, like when Jesus comes to earth, kind of thing, or literally when he comes to earth. I don't know how to interpret that. Sorry, folks. And that tree of an agreeable smell, there's that agreeable smell again.
Yeah.
Something's going on. Something's captivating about this tree.
Yes.
Not one of carnal odor. That could be the name of a band. If anybody's watching, you need a band name right there. Carnal odor. There you go.
It does sound like a metal band.
Yeah, carnal odor. You know what? I'm writing that down because I'd have a lot of musician friends, and maybe that could be a song or something. Carnal odor. All right, there we go.
Look at what Casey put down there. That's funny.
Yeah, I would drive Michael crazy too, I'm sure.
Yeah, Michael would have to take a vacation from me. Like, she asked him too many questions. Oh my God. He would be like, I have to hang out with Jennifer again.
Yeah, right. There shall be no power to touch until the period of the great judgment. And I always wondered about this because it's mentioned that there's this tree of knowledge, tree of life, whatever you want to call them, that if you were to eat from it, you would know everything. So when this time of great judgment comes, well, we know everything. Is that the whole point of it? Is like, okay, now mankind at this day of great judgment will know everything. You will know everything.
Right.
So I wonder. So there shall be no power to touch until the period of the great judgment. Let's see, when all shall be punished and consumed forever. What? Hold on here. When all shall be punished and consumed forever. I don't know if I like the sound of that. This shall be bestowed on the righteous and humble. The fruit of this tree shall be given to the elect. For towards the north, excuse me, for towards the north life shall be planted in the holy place. That's an interesting.
Yeah.
Towards the north life shall be planted in the holy place, towards the habitation of the everlasting King. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The fruit of this tree shall be given to the elect. The north. Interesting. I wonder what's in the north. Because we know, especially Antarctica, which is in the south, but if you went around the world to the north, you'd eventually get there. So it's technically be the north. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
that was stupid. Forget I said that.
No.
And the idea north, I wonder what they're referring to. Like, what is in the north that basically saying that this is a holy place
Mm.
and towards the habitation of the everlasting King.
Wow.
Wonder if anybody's ever investigated that. Like, I don't know if in the North Pole or wherever, it's just interesting the way it's phrased.
Mm-hmm.
Then shall they greatly rejoice and exult in the Holy One. The sweet odor shall enter into their bones, and they shall live a long life on the earth as your forefathers have lived, because we know that back in the day, some of those people were living 800 or 900 years.
Right.
Neither in their days shall sorrow, distress, trouble, and punishment afflict them. That's
Wow.
good to know.
Mm.
And I bless the Lord of glory, the everlasting King, because he has prepared this tree for the saints, formed it, and declared that he would give it to them.
Oh,
So
nice.
I wonder if by saints he literally means like believers, all the believers of God,
Mm-hmm.
and now obviously with Christ. Um, so that's interesting. Let's see what Joe Schmo has to say here.
Mm-hmm.
It
Casey
says,
has a
"Wow, oh, Casey, was Enoch? Yes, Enoch was before the flood because he is Noah's uh, great grandfather. So yes, and let's see. He says, "Wow, Enoch tells us that Christ will sit here on this earth." And that the tree will be a literal tree upon earth. It will be for Christians during the millennium, which is after the next judgment. It will cause us to live hundreds of years, unless it is symbolism representing those who will be in the resurrection. Those before the flood lived very long. Noah lived 950 years. That's what I'm saying. At
Oh.
the end of the present age, there will be another consummation like the flood of Noah. Only the next judgment will be with fire, when God will kill most of the world's population. The survivors will go into the next age, when they will live long, healthy lives, as also described by the prophet Isaiah in the Old Testament, who said that everyone who does not live to be 100 will be considered cursed. Interesting. Better
That is interesting.
start jogging again. Let's see. Next, Enoch sees a mountain. Oh, I'm going to read that. Yep. So, yeah, another one of those jam-packed chapters. I mean,
Mhm.
it's like they wrote every chapter like it was the entire book. Like they didn't know if it kind of seems like, oh, just pack everything you can into these chapters.
Yeah. Now, what you just read on the commentary, that's interesting because for the tree of, when we heard in the book of Revelation, the tree that they will eat of like the leaves, and then
Mhm.
it's for the healing of the nations. Um, so that kind of makes sense to eat from this tree. The fruit would then give long life so that people would live through almost the entire millennial, 1,000 years without death being a part of their life, because Methuselah and all of those, they lived, like you said, like 900, 800 years. um but I'm trying to work in my understanding of when it says Jesus will defeat death. That's the final foe to defeat is death. So these people are still going to die after these long lives? Is that what am I
Oh,
understanding that right?
let's see here. Um, the fruit of this tree shall be given to the elect, for towards the north life shall be planted in the holy place, towards the habitation of the everlasting King. So if by everlasting King they mean Jesus, because they mention it twice here,
Mhm.
I still this whole these they're actually giving direction like north. So north towards the north life shall be planted in the holy place.
Hmm.
Towards the north life shall be planted in the holy place. So that must be that tree.
Hmm.
Life shall be planted in that holy place. Um That's interesting. Um I don't know. I don't know if I agree 100% with this interpretation, but I do agree with the judgment by fire because God said that he was not never going to do a flood again, or he wasn't going to flood the earth again.
Right.
Um, let's see. So Isaiah, who said that everyone does not live to be 100 will be considered cursed. Isaiah 65:20. Let me see that real quick here. It's taking a minute for this thing to load. Isaiah 65:20. Do, do, do. Right, so Isaiah 65:20 says, "No more shall there be in it an infant who lives but a few days, or an old man who does not fill out his days. For the young man shall die 100 years old." Yeah, so the young man. So if you die at 100, you're a young man.
Hmm.
And the sinner 100 years old shall be accursed. So that's interesting. Um, and this, according to this verse in Isaiah, it refers to a new heaven and a new earth.
Okay.
Um,
Hmm.
so I don't know, something to consider, I guess.
Hmm.
I don't know that exactly what that means. If you don't live to 100, does that mean you've been like God knows you're cursed or thinks you're cursed? Or if you don't live to 100, it's because of the way you were living and you died early because and that makes you cursed. Like if you had like living with what they say, the burning the candle at both ends or whatever kind of thing.
Hmm.
And so I don't know.
Hmm.
That's an interesting concept. I'm not quite sure about this. But again, the imagery is
Yeah.
just, you know, their stones were brilliant and beautiful, placed on top of each other, and the way it was like as if they were placed that way, because it describes like it resembled a throne.
Yeah.
All right, so 25.
25. And he said unto me, Enoch, why dost thou ask me regarding the fragrance of the tree? And why dost thou wish to learn the truth? Then I answered him, saying, I wish to know about everything, but especially this tree. And he answered, saying, This high mountain which thou hast seen, whose summit is like the throne of God, is his throne, where the holy great one, Jah of glory, the eternal king, will sit when he shall come down to visit the earth with goodness. And as for this fragrant tree, no mortal is permitted to touch it till the
Oh,
great.
you're in 24.
What's that?
According to this, you're in 24.
That I'm in 24?
Yeah, that's weird.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that's weird because as soon as you started reading, that's like this.
It's repeating 24?
Yeah, it was.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
because he said he answered me, the mountain which you see is extent, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Oh my.
that's weird.
Isn't that? Oh boy.
That is weird. How does 26 start for you?
26 starts. Then I said, what
Okay,
means?
that's
Is
correct.
that what
Okay.
26 reads to?
Yep.
Oh, so this 25 is reading like 24. Okay, so this is, yeah, 25. Hmm,
That's weird.
it is.
So here, let me blow this up a little bit.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you can read that. Oop, sorry. Doo-doo-doo.
Oh, that's what 25 is saying?
Yeah.
Interesting. I see. So, okay, let me read it off of here. Okay, so from there I proceeded to the middle of the earth and beheld a happy and fertile spot, which contained branches continually sprouting from the trees which were planted in it. There I saw a holy mountain, and underneath it, water on the eastern side, which flowed towards the south. I saw also on the east another mountain as high as that, and between them there were deep but not wide valleys. Water ran toward the mountain to the west of this, and underneath there was likewise another mountain. There was a valley, but not a wide one below it, and in the midst of them were other deep and dry valleys towards the extremity of the three. All these valleys, which were deep but not side, consisted of a strong rock, which a tree which was planted in them. And I wondered at the rock and at the valleys, being extremely surprised.
Huh, that's weird. Um it's kind of interesting because like in verse 2 it says water ran towards the mountain to the west of this, and underneath there was likewise another mountain, like
Mm-hmm.
under a mountain under the mountain, or a
Mm,
mountain under the water.
that's a good question.
Let's see. Underneath there was like mountain of the west.
I don't
No,
know.
it says towards the mountain to the west of this, and underneath there was. Yeah, I don't understand what a mountain under a mountain means.
Hmm.
Um, but again, they were talking about. Let's see. It says Enoch sees a mountain in a valley where the accursed of God will be gathered. The angel Uriel explains. Hmm. But yet there's from the description, I proceeded to the middle of the earth. So like interior of the earth, like the center of the earth, like under the ground.
Hmm. Yeah,
I
that's
proceeded to the middle of the earth and
middle.
beheld a happy and fertile spot, which contained branches continually sprouting from the trees which were planted in it. There I saw a holy mountain. So in the earth, there's a mountain. That's what to me, with stuff growing down there.
Hmm.
And these valleys, which are narrow. Hmm.
It's very descriptive.
And I don't know where the author's, because the author's saying that, or the person that's throwing the comment here, I don't know where he's getting that this is the valley where the accursed of God will be gathered. I don't see anything like that in this chapter.
Yeah, if it was happy and fertile.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's not even a mention of it, you know.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
So I don't know.
I wouldn't get that from here.
Let's see what chapter 26. Let's see if 26 expounds on it. Then I said, what means this blessed land, all those lofty trees, and the accursed valley between them? Then Uriel, one of the holy angels who were with me, yeah, we know that, replied, this valley is the accursed. Well, see, that's chapter 26, not 25.
Oh.
This valley is the accursed of the accursed forever. Here shall be collected all who utter with their mouths unbecoming languages against God and speak harsh things of his glory. Here shall they be collected. Here shall be their territory. That stupid bot's back.
Oh no. Wow. I wonder what word is attracting it.
I don't know. Let's see. So basically, if you're speaking out against God, this is where you're going.
Mm.
It says this passage may have been one of the passages that Jude based the latter part of his quote from Enoch, and of all the harsh words ungodly sinners have spoken against him, possibly. In the latter days, an example of judgment shall be made of them in righteousness before the saints, while those who have received mercy shall forever all their days bless God, the everlasting King. See, does this refer to the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah? Peter said they were destroyed as an example of what is going to happen to the ungodly. That was in 2 Peter 2:6. And the period of judgment shall they bless him for his mercy, as he has distributed it to them. Then I bless God, addressing myself to him and making mention, as was meet, of his greatness, as was meet of his greatness. That's weird. It's a weird phrasing, as was meet. See, in the latter days, an example of judgment shall be made of them in righteousness before the saints, while those who have received mercy shall forever all their days bless God, the everlasting King. So, yeah, I mean, that could be talking about Sodom and Gomorrah. Also, I wonder if it could be talking about Babylon, and
True.
let's see, in the latter days. So this has to be, before the judgment, like the final judgment, because of the way, like in the latter days of our time on earth, before the judgment, whatever the end times are. So as we've seen so far, I mean, this book is really fire and brimstone. It's all about the end times. And, if you're going to pay the piper one way or another, basically.
Yeah, no escape here. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't turn out well for those that go against God. We knew it, but it really describes a bit more.
Casey says they hit all the Christian sites, seems like.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's possible.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because we know that the ungodly don't like God, so.
And something about the Book of Enoch, I think that threatens the dark kingdom even more, because we're talking about what's going to happen to them what,
Yeah, and we alluded to the whole bloodline thing earlier, and
Yeah.
they're like, God, they found out about the bloodline again.
Yeah.
We better throw some strippers in there, some pole dancers or whatever, get these guys off of that.
Right. It's so desperate, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, let's see, it says Love Face XYZ girls here, streamer recommends. Yeah, I'm sure.
Wow.
Streamer recommends. Wonder what streamer.
It's so desperate to me. It's just like, their last hurrah. They just have to throw stuff like that at people and weak people. You think about, I don't know, I think about children, like that preys on young
Yes.
people.
And we know God loves children.
Mhm.
God loves mankind, but
Yeah.
God really loves children.
Mhm.
And there's so many, I hear it all the time. Like Charlie and I do a show called Remnant Live.
Mhm.
And one of the things that keeps coming up is, especially during this current time that we live in, a lot of young children are seeing Jesus.
Wow.
Like literally they're saying this to their parents, like
That's
they saw
awesome.
Jesus.
Oh, I love
Like
it.
we were at the Orlando gathering, about a month ago, whatever it was, 3 weeks ago. And one of the speakers gave a testimony
Mhm.
about somebody whose child had said they saw Jesus in the woods, and very genuine, very sincere, and like I hear it all the time. It's like I hear and these kids are convinced. Like to me, children are so pure. They're so um they're like they haven't been jaded by anything yet,
Exactly.
and so it kind of encourages me that a lot of kids now are seeing, and these are from a lot of these were from families that weren't religious or Christian or whatever,
Wow.
and they like the kids weren't taught anything about God or Jesus or anything like that,
Uh-huh.
And for like a 4-year-old or whatever to say, "Mommy," like they were afraid to tell their mom, like they were afraid to say something about it,
Right.
and because they didn't want to be made fun of or whatever the case was.
Right.
And yes, Buckaroo 7, God is always close to the babies. Yes. It's like beaten out of us as we get older. It's like
Yeah.
as you get more and more indoctrinated into the real world, it's like you
Mhm.
think about children and their imagination, like their unbound imagination and the unlimited possibilities and that kind of stuff. And which is God. God is unlimited love, unlimited possibility, and so who knows? Who knows? It's just I think that it's very promising for the future that a lot of this is happening now. So
Yeah.
um yes, absolutely, the veil comes down. Yep.
Mhm.
All right, 27, Jennifer.
27. Okay. Then said I, for what object is this blessed land, which is entirely filled with trees, and this accursed valley between? Then Uriel, one of the holy angels who was with me, answered and said, this accursed valley is for those who are accursed forever. Here shall all the accursed be gathered together who utter with their lips against Jah unseemingly words and of his glory speak hard things. Here shall they be gathered together, and here shall their place of be their place of judgment. In the last days there shall be upon them the spectacle of righteous judgment in the
Oh, that's 20,
presence.
that's 26 again.
Are you
That's
serious?
weird. Yeah.
That's 26
Yeah. At least in this version of it,
in
it's
that
26
version.
again.
Oh,
Yeah, because
wow.
what you're reading was
That was
where is it here?
Wait a minute. Which one did you ask me to read? 26?
No, 27.
27. Okay. Okay, so 27. That's 27 right there.
27 and 28.
And
They're both
28.
teeny.
Okay, let me read it from here. From there, I proceeded towards the east to the middle of the mountain in the desert, the level surface only of which I perceived. It was full of trees, and the seed alluded to, and water leaped down upon it. There appeared a cataract composed as of many cataracts, both towards the west and towards the east. Upon one side were trees, upon the other water and dew. And then 27, you want me, then I went to another place from the desert towards the east of that mountain which I had approached.
Interesting. Let's see here.
Mhm.
Let's see, east to the middle of the mountain in the desert. Level surface. I mean, it's kind of weird the way it reads because that stupid bot again.
Oh gosh.
Jeez. Block user. Let's see. Let's see. Casey says, my nephew said he used to talk to God at 4 years old, then passed away from leukemia at 6. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Wow.
Then let's see. My granddaughter was a preemie. We heard her giggling one morning. She was in her crib. We heard a man talking to her. I thought my brother had come in to see her. We went to check. No one was there.
Oh wow.
Interesting.
That is.
Yeah, I really do think God's talking to the kids all the time.
Yeah.
But this first two verses here, they almost contradict each other. It says, from there I proceeded towards the east to the middle of the mountain in the desert. Then it says, it was full of trees of the seed alluded to, and water leaped down upon it. So if it's in the desert, was like this an oasis? I mean, otherwise that makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
There appeared a cataract composed as of many cataracts. So probably to me, a cataract is man-made or not natural when I think of that.
Okay.
Otherwise, you'd say river or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
So a cataract composed of as many cataracts, both towards the west and towards the east. Upon one side were trees, upon the other water and dew. Almost sounds like it was like a big way to transport a lot of water and not necessarily a river. Then I went to another place from the desert towards the east of that mountain, which I had approached. Oh, sorry. There's more to 28. I didn't realize that.
Oh.
Jeez. Now that makes a little more sense.
Okay.
So verse 2, there I beheld choice trees. There's this guy's loving his trees, particularly those which produce the sweet smelling opiate. So now we know why he loves them. Sweet smelling opiate.
You did bring up Cheech and Chong, didn't you?
Yes. And then frankincense and myrrh, the trees unlike to each other. Yeah, we know frankincense and myrrh come from, I don't remember what exactly the names of the trees are, but like the frankincense is like the hardened sap of that particular tree. And they collect them with these little chisels or whatever. And
right.
see, choice trees, literally trees of judgment. So I beheld choice trees. So I beheld trees of judgment. How do you get that out of that? I mean, literally, how do you get, unless there's something in the translation that I don't know about, and they know that choice translates to judgment or something. I don't know. Judgment trees. And over and above them was the elevation of the eastern mountain at no great distance. And over and above them was the elevation of the eastern mountain, which I guess means wasn't far away, at no great distance.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That one's tough. I'm not exactly sure what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like he's describing all these places, but there's no context to it. Like like at least in like our reality, our world, we have context to most things, so we can actually kind of know where somebody's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And here we're kind of, it's like, what was that? Like the great whatever it is, like the treasure hunt where they give you these clues and you got to go to the next place and dig up something and then find your next clue. And so
Mm-hmm.
we're assuming that he's talking about places on Earth or in this realm that that we're familiar with. As
Right.
far as I know, this could be someplace totally different.
True. True.
So yeah, I have no idea. No idea on this one.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, usually you'll have a location maybe from a map of what the known world is. But I guess for the reasons of this of the purpose of the description, it's like maybe it's to be revealed at that time. Not sure. It
Yeah, I'm not.
does say the north though, right? So it did give us somewhat of a indication of
In this one,
direction.
let's see. It says, then I went to another place from the desert towards the east of that mountain. So that previous mountain, let's see. Yeah, yeah, it's kind of getting hard to follow. Well, let's do this. Let's do 29:30 and we'll stop at 31. Let's see here. Let me write this down so I don't forget it. All right, so 29. I likewise saw another place with the valleys of water which never wasted. That's cool. Valleys of water which never wasted. Where I perceived a goodly tree. He's got all these goodly trees and opiate trees and all these. This guy's like a tree freak. Which in smell resembled Zasakinan. Never heard that word before either. Zasakinan. Have to look that up. And towards the sides of these valleys, I perceived cinnamon. Ah, a word we recognize. Cinnamon of a sweet odor. Let's see. Over them, I advanced towards the east. Then I beheld another mountain containing trees from which water flowed like Nekatro. Its name was Sarira.
Mhm.
Oh my god! Never mind. I'm not even gonna go there. But um, and Cal Boniba. And upon this mountain I beheld another mountain upon which were trees of alva. All right, so Necatro, a nectar, flowed like nectar. Okay, Styrax. Let's see, Styrax and Galbanum. Alva is aloe. So
Oh,
okay,
was Alva.
these trees were full like almond trees and strong. When they produced fruit, it was superior to all redolence. Man,
Huh?
we never learned words like this in school.
No.
Redolence. Dang. So let's see, 29:30. And like it's just like this one giant, even though they're different chapters, it's like one gigantic long description.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's like moving from place to place to place.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd almost have to like try and sit there and go from description to description and try and draw a map,
Mm-hmm.
based on the descriptions
Right.
and see if it resembled anything here. You know, I'm sure the landscape was probably different back then as well.
Yeah.
I don't know by how much because this was pre-flood, so who knows? I mean, there could have been things in the world that were lost in the flood.
That's a good point.
Monuments, landmarks, mountains, whatever. These thrones that you're talking, or these mountains that are like these polished stone and different colors. So a
Yeah.
lot of this stuff could just be hidden from us and just doesn't exist visibly anymore.
Right. That's a good point.
Hmm. Anyway, any comments in the chat there about what you've heard so far? I mean, Jennifer and I are kind of a little flabbergasted at
Yes, that's a good one. I
the
really,
amount of description. I mean, just
yeah.
it's like how they used to describe stuff back, before they had like plot maps for properties and stuff.
Mhm.
You go by the old rock by so and so, and you go left 500 paces, and there's like a big oak tree and this and that, and like
Mhm.
it's like you're trying to mentally like follow this.
Right.
And yeah, Casey, I'm sure, or buried. Yes, I kind of think
Yeah.
that because I mean, think about it. You wipe everything out except for people on the ark. You wipe everything out. So
Mhm.
with that much water and the churning and the whatever, it moves sediment and dirt around and rocks and whatever. So a lot of this could be just completely buried under hundreds of feet of whatever,
Mhm.
if not thousands of feet. Um, yeah, the wording kind of burns your brain. Yes, yes, it does.
It's Casey, our brains are expanding right now. We're going through brain expansion.
Yeah, it reminds me of. Hold on, let me see if I can find this picture here. Oops. I won't give my memes away yet. It's like as soon as you see the guy, you'll understand why I think this picture is appropriate. And some of these aren't appropriate for YouTube, so we're not going to take that chance. Oh, come on, where is it? Here, I'll just see if I labeled it. Me. Sorry, folks. Just I hope I have it here. Oh, here it is. I do have it. There you go. That's what my head feels like right now.
Yes. We're going through it together, though, right? That's so.
And that's memes perfect because a lot of times I don't post some content in some of my social media because that's literally how I feel sometimes. Is like I keep a lot of stuff back because if you knew what I really knew, or what I thought I really knew anyway.
This is great. I love it. That's really good. John has the best memes.
I've been waiting for this day, for Truth Social to drop, and we're getting close to the, because
Yes.
I feel like I'm sitting on a mountain of memes. I feel like Enoch, and I'm trying to
A mountain of memes. I love it.
Yeah.
You're just gonna let them fire off the first day on
I'm gonna.
Truth Social.
Well, I'm gonna. I'm gonna do like a meme of the day kind of thing. I'm just gonna
Oh
like every
yeah,
day
that'll
I'm
be
gonna post
good.
post a meme.
I like that. That sounds
Now
great.
tell me if you can hear this sound because I have a new system I set up, and for some of the other shows I have like pre-programmed sounds and stuff like that.
Oh,
So if
okay.
when I do this, tell me if you hear this.
A few moments later.
Do you hear anything?
Yes. Yes. I heard it.
See, and that's weird because I don't hear it on the screen.
Oh, you don't?
Yeah,
Oh.
like I can hear you. So I have to figure out how to anyway, so you should be able to hear like this.
Mm-hmm. I heard
Yeah,
that.
actually I heard it because I heard it from your speaker.
Okay.
But anyway, all right. Well, at least I know it goes out so you can hear it. So
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Okay.
yes, his trees are like your memes. Yes. Yeah, I have odoriferous memes and
And our vocabulary is expanding as well, right?
yeah, I mean some of these words I thought I've literally never heard of a lot of these words. Like this redolence.
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm
Good.
actually kind of curious as to what redolence means. Redolence. The meaning of redolence is an often pungent or agreeable odor.
Oh.
Let's see. Interesting. So it sounds bad, but I guess it's good.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna stop there. We're gonna stop at chapter 31.
Mm-hmm.
For those that have stayed on the whole time, thank you so much.
Yes.
Mike, I don't know if you're still on or not, or if you dozed off or decided to go burn a lunger out in the back. He smokes a lot. Sorry, Mike, but you do. Casey, thank you. And let's see, was it Bucky, Buckaroo?
Yes, thank you.
So all you guys, thank you so much for sticking around. And anybody that's going to watch this in the future, thank you so much. Like it, share it, because this is still one platform where you can actually like and share things. Next week we'll start with chapter 31.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to get you guys involved. So like as we're reading things, you know, if you have commentary or you have your own ideas, start throwing them out there. Just start, you know, nothing's too crazy. So yeah, we need a start on Enoch, start an Enoch dictionary. Yes. That's a good, I wonder if somebody already has one of those. That's interesting.
I know. I wonder.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like a companion. Yes, love you too, Casey. Thank you. And as always, Jennifer, thank you so much for joining.
It's been awesome.
Yes, it's always awesome. And like I said, if you haven't seen Jennifer's shows, you got to watch her shows. You got to. She has. She's off the hook some nights. She's got some interesting. I love your pictures though. You have such brilliant, pretty pictures. Like they're like very clear and crisp. You know, it's like every time I see it, it's like, where does she get these pictures? Where like
I don't know. Like, I stumble on a lot of them. I like in my little rabbit hole like journey. I curate pictures. It's just I collect images. I guess I can compete.
I do too, but nothing like that. I mean, some of those pictures are awesome. I mean, they're.
Thank you.
Like I saw, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, but there was one that was like a whale in a canal.
Oh yes, right. I love like fantasy pictures. If you ever go on, I think that's where I went. It's something like fantasy art, maybe that might give you like, yeah, I think that was what I did. I went on some search and I put in something that gives you like all the photographers and editors that do fantasy and they impose like things, you know, that you wouldn't normally see. And I like that from the visual standpoint. So there is cool. Like, yeah, there is I tapped into that once and I got a few good images. So
interesting. But when we're done with this and I edit everything, the comments or whatever the description, Jennifer's channel will be in there. So She does at least 2 or 3 shows a week, I think, don't you?
I try to I try to do a Sunday show. It seems like that's when I've been getting the information together, because sometimes I'm not ready to go live. I'll know, like, it's like God lets me know, like, okay, it's time to do this one. Like, it's finished. I'll add more to it, but
I've
it
got enough
seems
cool pictures.
well, yeah, I haven't gotten enough cool pictures yet. Yeah, it seems like Sunday, and then I may do an edited, like, I want to do more shorts where I edit things from a subject, or might read an article
Mhm.
and then just make a little video from it. So I want to do more of those so that I can add like more content every week.
Yeah, even let's see. Where is it here? I follow way too many people. Let's see. Here we go. Yeah, I love the title of this. Orphan Trains and Planes, Operation Baby Lift,
Oh,
Wars, Cataclysms.
yeah, I
I mean,
try to get some crazy titles, or they
yeah,
just come to me like that's how crazy my thing. Oh
yeah, I
yeah,
love that. I like, yeah, Gerald Ford on there, and you've got, and I remember you made the comment, and that was such a cool comment, or an insightful comment about the kids and the way they were dressed and how poorly they looked, and the
hmm
idea that somebody was actually taking pictures of them.
yeah,
You
right.
know,
Yeah, it's
like
so
the kid that was sleeping or laying in the alley or in that whatever, and
crazy.
so yeah, I mean, so yeah, if you get a chance, watch some of her videos.
Thank you.
They're very interesting. So I mean, it's I don't want to give it away, but she has a very active chat.
Oh yeah, the chatmosphere, I call it.
Chat, that's right,
The
chatmosphere.
chatmosphere. They are. They're a great group.
Yeah. So guys, thank you so much for joining us. And
Yes.
until next time, don't worry about anything. God's got this.
Mhm.
This show is a fun show. This has nothing to do with political things or things that are bothering people right now. This is just a way to get away from that and talk about some fun stuff or some interesting things, and
Mhm.
hopefully you feel the same way.
Yes. Thank you for joining us. Thank you,
Yes.
John. This is such a
No,
blessing
thank you.
to go through this for the first time. This is my first time going through the Book of Enoch, and it's just awesome to do this with you and with you all in the chat. It's wonderful. We're getting used to this book.
Yeah, sort of as used to it as we can get used to it.
Right, making it familiar.
Because I this is one of those things that you probably would have to, like, once you go through it, have to let it simmer, bubble, digest, whatever,
Oh yeah. Mhm.
and then probably go back and do it all again. And
Mhm.
I find myself sometimes I'll watch videos, and speaking of which, if Trey Smith is watching, I doubt if he is, but I ordered the Book of Enoch series from him and I still haven't got it.
Oh.
Um, it's been a while. I even
Oh.
sent an email like, "Hey, where's it at?" Crickets.
Oh.
Anyway, but I'll go down the YouTube rabbit hole and just see what other people have to think about Enoch. And then, of
Mhm.
course, all the ancient alien stuff shows up because they mentioned the Book of Enoch about a billion times in those shows, especially
That's
Eric
true.
von Daniken. He seems to live in the Book of Enoch.
Oh, really? You know
Yeah.
what? I found a couple that have you come across John Pounders and David Carrico? Their um
Oh,
their channel is called The Midnight Ride.
hmm.
And
Interesting.
yeah, if you get a chance, they cover a lot of things from a biblical standpoint. And their stuff is sound, biblically sound, I would say.
You have to
Um,
email me that or a link to a video or
yeah,
something.
I'll do that as soon as we were done. I'll send you one of their Enochs. I just happened to just really stumble upon their channel a little while back, and I really feel good. Like they have a good grasp. They've been at it for a while, but it's
Mhm.
very sound biblical.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Good. I like people that do the research or like that spend the time and
Mm-hmm.
you know. So yeah, I'll do that in my
Yeah.
little YouTube rabbit hole tonight or something.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you'll love it if you watch one, you're gonna want to watch a lot after that.
Yeah, I was down the Bigfoot rabbit hole again last night. Like,
Oh,
geez. It's funny how all your recommended stuff keeps changing. Every time you watch one video, then you have a whole
mm-hmm.
line of other videos, and it's like, oh,
That's
geez.
right.
You gotta watch them, or you gotta watch one of them, or you gotta, whatever. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh well, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's fun. I don't mind. I stay up late anyway. I don't go to bed till
Yeah.
like 1:30. So,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
so
I know.
guys, thank you again, and don't let the Book of Enoch make you sit up at night. Just, just it is what it is. So, all right, guys, love you, and until next week, talk to you soon.
That's right. Take care. Okay.